There are exactly 7 sentences that will make a narcissist step back from you, as though you have just shown a holy object to a dark spirit. The great strength of these sentences is not that they are cruel or damaging, but rather because they are the truth. And narcissists, more than anything else, are deeply scared of the truth. Let us be totally honest about this reality. Most people fail, and they fail badly when they attempt to stand up to a narcissist. Why does this happen? Because they willingly walk into a conflict zone that the narcissist has chosen, armed with methods that are not only useless but actually make the opponent stronger. You bring your emotions, your sense of what is fair, your desire for peace and understanding to the narcissist. These traits are not tools for connection. They are weak spots to be used against you. You are basically trying to have a sensible talk with a giant storm. It is a hopeless mission. The main mistake is simple. You believe you are in a friendly chat when you are actually in a psychological war. The narcissist creates a changed world, a twisted version of reality where they are the hero and the wronged center of everything. And you are the broken, silly, and constantly indebted supporting actor. Every emotional outburst you have, your anger, your sadness, your desperate begging, is you agreeing to use their map. You are proving their warped reality is real by staying inside its lines. And on that ground, they will always win. The huge change in power happens the second you stop reacting and start responding. An emotional reaction is a quick, uncontrolled burst of energy. It is the sudden jump, the yell, the explosion. A planned response, on the other hand, is a quiet, thoughtful act of will. It is the conscious choice to throw their map into the fire and to stand on the ground of what you know is real. This is where words become your most useful tool, not a heavy item to hit them with, but as the bricks to build a structure of reality so strong that their false beliefs simply cannot break it. To understand why this works, you need to look deeper. You must understand what truly runs the engine of narcissism. What is a narcissist truly afraid of under the big shows and the speeches praising themselves? It is not your rage. It is not your logic. It is simply being seen. Their whole personality is a defense built piece by painful piece around a center of deep unworthiness and shame. It is a big, shiny castle built to hide a scared, hurt inner self. This is not an excuse for their behavior. Not at all. It is a key fact for your plan. Their biggest fear is that someone will see the cracks in the castle wall, that someone will catch a look at the sad reality they are trying so hard to cover up. They live in constant terror of being truly seen. This is why certain words said with clearness and without anger act as psychological switches. These words do not attack the castle. They simply light it up. They hold up a mirror. And in that mirror, the narcissist is forced to see not the godlike picture they have of themselves, but the faint shape of the fraud they are terrified they might be. This is the deepest form of the psychology of shame. They are not scared you will hurt them. They are afraid you will see them for what they are, and that this seeing itself will ruin the illusion they need to exist. I want you to really think about this for a second. Take a moment and think. Have you ever said something to a difficult person that made them instantly back down and you could not quite figure out why it worked? Maybe you were just tired. Perhaps you ran out of energy to fight and you said something simple and straight, and suddenly the craziness stopped. There is a method to this, a deep psychological truth. I want you to think about your own times this happened. As we look at this more, what exactly did you say? What was your voice like? And what was the result? You may have found this rule without even knowing it. This brings us to the structure of verbal boundaries. Let us be totally clear. Setting a boundary with words is not an act of attack. Aggression is an attempt to control or harm another person. Speaking the truth firmly, which is what we are talking about, is an act of self-control. It is the refusal to let someone else decide your reality. Think of it like a fence marking land. Aggression is entering your neighbor's yard. Setting a boundary is simply standing on your own grass and saying calmly and strongly, "You are not allowed to cross this fence." The statements themselves, which we will get to, are only one part of the answer. Your tone and how you say them are what give them their power. A boundary shouted in anger is not a boundary. It is an invite to a battle. It signals that you are still working on the ground of emotion, and the narcissist will happily join you there. But a boundary said with the calm, steady finality of a math fact is something their mind cannot easily handle. It is like trying to divide by zero. It breaks the set rules of the interaction. Your quiet confidence becomes a mirror reflecting their mess, and it is a view they cannot stand. So what happens when you learn to do this? What is the deep change waiting for you past this fear? It is not just about handling a hard relationship. It is about a basic change in your own self. The respect you will start to get from others, and most importantly from the narcissist, is not something they choose to give you. It is something that naturally shows up as a result of your own self-respect. You stop being a piece in their game because you have chosen to stop playing. You begin the process of moving from being a character in their story to becoming the writer of your own. And that truly is where real strength lives. Here is a thought that might make you feel strange. Narcissists do not disrespect you because you are weak. They disrespect you because they sense you have something they desperately want, but can never truly hold, which is real self-worth, and that scares them. The choice of a target by a narcissist is not a random act of meanness. It is a planned hunting strategy, an instinct sharpened over a lifetime of looking for what they lack. Picture a group of hunters. They do not just attack any animal in the herd. They watch, they test, they look for a specific mix of traits. And unlike what you might guess, they are not usually drawn to the weakest members. They are often drawn to the strongest, to the ones with the most life energy, because that is where the biggest prize lies. So what traits make you so powerfully attractive to a manipulator? First and most important, your empathy, your ability to feel, to understand, to give the benefit of the doubt. This is a foreign language to the narcissist, but one they know how to use. They view your empathy not as a strength, but as an unlocked door. Your skill is another signal. You are good at what you do. You have talents. You have self-discipline. You get results. This skill is a resource they wish to take over and claim as their own. It holds up their illusion of great importance. And finally, your honesty, your basic goodness, your promise to tell the truth, your wish to do the right thing. This is perhaps the most strong attraction of all because you are honest. You assume others are too because you have a conscience. You cannot easily imagine someone who acts without a conscience. Your strength surprisingly becomes your weakness. This is the terrible twist of the predator relationship. The very light you have is what pulls the darkness to you. The narcissist sees your whole self, your real capacity for caring and success, and it is both a source of deep jealousy and a target for ruin. They want to eat it, and if they cannot, to destroy it so that its existence no longer reminds them of their own empty center. Once a target is picked, the testing starts. And you must understand these are not obvious attacks. Not at first. They are subtle checks. Psychological tests planned to measure your defenses. It might be a small backhanded compliment. It might be a promise that is quickly forgotten. It might be a joke made at your cost that is just sharp enough to hurt, but said lightly enough that if you complain, you are the one seen as having no sense of humor. Each of these is a small experiment. The narcissist is asking a silent question. Will you put up with this? Can I get away with this? Your reaction or lack of one is the data they gather. If you laugh it off, if you make up excuses for them, if you let it go for the sake of keeping the peace, you have just given them all the info they need. You have shown them the map to your boundaries. And based on that info, they increase the violation. The forgotten promise becomes a broken deal. The mean joke becomes a shaming insult in front of other people. It is a step-by-step gradual violation of your personal space. This is the key difference between normal human arguments and the planned disrespect of a narcissist. In a healthy relationship, conflict happens and is fixed. It is a two-way process. With a narcissist, it isn't a conflict. It is a campaign. It is a planned wearing down of your standards, one small act of disrespect at a time until you find yourself standing on ground you swore you would never give up. This increases what I call the disrespect cycle, and it is a form of psychological control as damaging as any ever made. It starts with a small offense. You feel a bit of annoyance, a sense of unfairness, but you ignore it. Why? Because you are a good person. You do not want to make a scene over something so small, but that small violation, once accepted, becomes the new lowest standard for the relationship. The next violation will be a little bigger, and the one after that bigger still. The narcissist needs you to accept this rising pattern of bad treatment because it serves a vital purpose. It constantly proves their twisted reality. In their world, they are owed special treatment, and your acceptance of their disrespect is your silent agreement. You are being trained step by step to accept what is not acceptable. Each time you fail to hold the line moves. And what is truly scary is how quickly a person can adjust. The human mind is built for adaptation, but that feature can be used against us. Disrespect, when it is constant and gradual, can begin to feel normal. The state of being on edge, of walking carefully, of constantly trying to manage their moods. This becomes your new normal. You forget what it felt like to be treated with simple, basic goodness. The abnormal has been made normal. So why do good, caring, honest people so often struggle to even see this process as it is happening? The main reason is that your internal response patterns are working against you. Your natural wish for harmony, for smoothing things out, for seeing the best in people is a disadvantage. In this situation, you put your own goodness onto them. You think they cannot possibly mean it that way, or they are just having a rough day. You engage in a form of lying to yourself because the idea that this person is purposely and systematically disrespecting you is a thought too terrible to consider. This leads to a deep and weakening self-doubt. You start to question your own view of things. Am I being too sensitive? Am I overreacting? This is the narcissist's most effective trick to convince you that the problem is not their behavior, but your reaction to it. You become an unreliable narrator in the story of your own life. But there comes a point, a breaking point. It might be a disrespect so clear, so undeniable, that it shatters the fog of self-doubt. It is the moment when the combined weight of all the small violations becomes too much to carry. It is a moment of scary clarity when you see the pattern for what it is, and you realize with a certainty that freezes you that something basic must change. And that change starts not with them, but with you. What I am about to share with you are not insults or attacks. These are exact tools of truth. When you use these statements, you are not trying to hurt them. You are setting up reality. And for a narcissist, reality is the most dangerous weapon of all. The first statement is, I see what you are doing. There is perhaps no phrase more scary to a manipulator than this one. Why? Because their entire way of working depends on the ability to deny their true aims. They grow in the confusion of vagueness, the subtle mean comment, the slight put down, the innocent question meant to create insecurity. These are their methods exactly because they can retreat from them. They can claim you misunderstood, that you are too sensitive. But the statement, I see what you are doing, cuts through that fog like a powerful light. It is a declaration that you are not fooled. You are not a piece in their game. You are a conscious watcher of it. You are pulling back the curtain and revealing the sad little person running the controls. This phrase needs no explanation. You do not need to list what you see. The power is in the mystery of your awareness. It communicates the game is over. I know your moves. And in that moment, the power balance shifts forever. You have taken away their main weapon, the mask of pretended innocence. They are exposed. And exposure is a narcissist's deepest fear. The second statement is, that is not my responsibility. The narcissist is a master of passing off responsibility. Their failures, their bad moods, their chaotic lives, these are never their fault. They are a result of your failings, your lack of support, your inability to guess their needs. They hand you the heavy weight of their own emotional and practical problems and expect you to carry it. What the phrase, that is not my responsibility, does is hand that weight right back. It is a radical act of boundary setting. It draws a clear and distinct line around your own personal authority. It states that you will be responsible for your own actions and emotions, and they must be responsible for theirs. This will feel strange at first, especially if you are a caring and helping person. You are naturally inclined to help. But you must learn the key difference between helping someone and enabling them. Carrying their emotional loads for them is not helping. It is enabling their problem. When you refuse to take responsibility for their issues, you are not being unkind. You are forcing them, perhaps for the very first time, to face the results of their own choices. It is a freedom for both you and in a strange and difficult way for them. The third statement is, I will not be spoken to that way. This is not a request. It is a rule. It is the setting of a basic standard for respectful communication. Narcissists systematically lower your standards of treatment through increasing disrespect. They test you with small insults, and when you tolerate them, they escalate. This phrase stops that process immediately. It is vital that this is said with calm finality, not with anger. Anger says, "You have hurt me." Calm finality says, "That is a line you will not cross." There is a world of difference. One invites a fight, the other ends a violation. This is not a threat. A threat is, "If you speak to me that way, I will do this." A boundary is simply a statement of what you will and will not accept. "I won't be spoken to." That way requires no further reason. It is a basic statement of self-worth. It says, "I am a person who deserves basic respect, and that is the price for talking with me." The fourth statement is, "Your feelings about this are not my problem." Narcissists turn their emotions into weapons. Their rage, their tears, their sulking, their dramatic displays of being a victim. These are not real expressions of feeling. They are manipulative plans designed to control your behavior. They want you to rush around trying to fix their emotional state, to satisfy their anger, to comfort their manufactured hurt. They make you believe that their emotional stability is your duty. This phrase cuts that manipulative cord. It is a deep statement of emotional freedom. It says you are a capable adult and you are totally responsible for your own emotional reactions. This will feel incredibly harsh because decent people feel a responsibility to the emotions of others. But you must understand you are not responsible for controlling the feelings of another adult by refusing to take part in their emotional drama. You are returning self-control to them. You are forcing them to sit with their own feelings instead of using them as a tool to control you. It is a powerful, game-changing statement that breaks down one of their most effective control methods. The fifth statement is, "I do not need to justify myself to you." Have you ever found yourself in a never-ending argument with a narcissist? Endlessly explaining and defending your decisions, your feelings, your very existence. This is a planned trap. They act as the judge and you are placed on the witness stand. They demand that you explain yourself, and the more you explain, the more ammo you give them to twist your words and find new ways to attack. It is a game you can never win. Over-explaining is a position of weakness. It signals that you believe their approval is necessary for your decisions to be valid. The phrase, "I do not need to justify myself to you," is your refusal to take the stand. It communicates that you are the ultimate boss in your own life. Your decisions are yours. Your reasons are yours. You do not require their agreement or their permission. Standing in the quiet confidence of your own choices, without the desperate need for their stamp of approval, is an incredibly powerful position. The sixth statement is, "This conversation is over." This is the emergency exit. It is the tool you use when a discussion has become a confusing, circular, and exhausting speech designed to dominate and confuse you, not to communicate. You are not required to take part in a conversation that is going nowhere. You are not obligated to be an audience for their twisted logic and manipulation. Stating this conversation is over and then physically removing yourself by walking out of the room or ending the call is the ultimate proof of a verbal boundary. It demonstrates that your time and mental energy are valuable resources that you will not waste on pointless, harmful interactions. It shows through action that you mean what you say. The seventh statement is, "I am not interested in your opinion of me." This is the ultimate blow to the center of the narcissistic dynamic. If the entire relationship from their view is based on their role as the judge and you as the one being judged, they need you to need their approval. They need you to fear their disapproval. Their opinion is the money of their power. And when you state calmly and as a simple fact that their opinion of you is irrelevant, you have just bankrupted their entire system. You have declared your freedom from their judgment. This is not something you say in a moment of frustration. It is a statement of achieved self-validation. It says, "I know who I am. I have my own moral compass. I have my own sense of worth." And your evaluation is simply no longer needed. This is the ultimate freedom. It is the moment you stop looking to them for a reflection of yourself and find it within. The reason these phrases are so devastating to narcissists is not that they are cruel, but because they destroy the basic lie that their entire personality is built upon. And when you grasp this lie, you will understand why your words have the power to completely disarm them. To understand the power of these statements, you must first grasp the huge and unstable structure of the narcissistic mind. The narcissist has built what is best described as a false self. a grand and inflated character designed for one purpose and one purpose only to constantly seek a stream of outside praise, which they call narcissistic supply. This false self is a made-up character, heroic, brilliant, uniquely victimized, and supremely important. But here is the key point. It is a structure with no solid foundation. It is a hollow image. And like any false idol, it requires constant worship from the outside world to keep the illusion of its importance. This endless need for praise is not just arrogance, it is a desperate, necessary part of their existence. Without the reflection of admiration in the eyes of others, the false self begins to collapse, threatening to reveal the emptiness it was built to hide. This is why a simple challenge, a boundary, or a refusal to cooperate is not seen as a minor disagreement. To the narcissist, it is a major threat to their entire psychological structure. It is a crack in the idol when you say, "I see what you are doing," or "that is not my responsibility." You are refusing to provide the worship the false self requires. You are in that moment a non-believer, and your disagreement threatens to reveal to the narcissist, and even worse to the world, that their God is a fake. This is the critical difference between healthy self-confidence and sickness of arrogance. The confident person has an internal source of control. Their self-worth is made from within, based on ability and experience. The arrogant person has an external source of control. Their sense of self is a fragile reflection, completely dependent on the opinions and reactions of others. Your words of truth do not challenge their strength, they expose their absolute and terrifying weakness. So what is hidden beneath this dazzling big mask? What is the terrible secret that the castle of narcissism is built to protect? It is a core of deep, completely unsoothed shame. At the center of the narcissist is a deeply stuck belief in their own worthlessness and inadequacy. This is the unhealed wound, the main terror from which their entire personality is aflight. They have spent their lives running from this shame, building a fancy alternate reality where they are the opposite of everything they fear themselves to be. The verbal tools we have discussed are so effective because they skip the big castle walls and speak directly to this hidden core of shame. When you refuse to accept blame, you are holding up a mirror to their own guilt. When you refuse to manage their emotions, you force them to face their own internal chaos. When you refuse to seek their approval, you quietly reveal that their judgment is worthless. Each of these actions is a form of exposure. Exposure to the narcissist immediately triggers an overwhelming activation of this core shame. It is the feeling of being seen, not as the glorious idol they pretend to be, but as the flawed, dislikable being they secretly believe they are. This is a psychological state they cannot tolerate. Their defenses are specifically designed to avoid this feeling at all costs. To be truly seen is to be destroyed. Your simple, clear statements of reality pierce the disguise and force a meeting with the very thing they have spent a lifetime trying to outrun. How does a narcissist keep power in a relationship? Primarily through the strategic use of confusion and doubt. They are experts at the word salad, the circular argument, the manipulation that makes you question your own sanity. They create a fog of emotional and intellectual chaos in which you lose your sense of direction. In that confused state, they are in control. They define reality because you have become detached from it. Clear, direct language is the cure to this poison. Phrases like, "This conversation is over," or "I do not need to justify myself," are acts of radical clarity. They refuse to enter the fog. They refuse to play the game of mental gymnastics. You are planting a flag in the solid ground of reality and refusing to be pulled into their swamp of confusion. By refusing to take part in their games, you make them powerless. Their control tools depend entirely on your participation. Once you take away that participation, their tactics are revealed for what they are: pathetic and obvious attempts at manipulation. Boundaries force them to face a reality that is not of their own making, and this is a territory where they are weak and ineffective. There is a powerful psychological effect that occurs when you respond to a narcissist's chaos with unshakable calm. Your centered response acts as a mirror. Narcissists are experts at projection. They take the unwanted parts of themselves, their rage, their incompetence, their dishonesty, and project them onto you. They accuse you of being angry when they are the ones raging. They call you manipulative when they are the ones playing games. This allows them to avoid facing their own darkness. But when you respond with calm, assertive truth, you interrupt this process. You refuse to accept the projection. You hold up a mirror, and the ugliness they tried to cast onto you is reflected directly back at them. Your calmness highlights their chaos. Your rationality illuminates their irrationality. Your integrity exposes their lack of it. This mirroring effect forces them for a brief and terrifying moment to see themselves as they truly are. The discomfort this creates is huge. They are confronted with an accurate reflection of their own broken state, and it is a sight they cannot stand. Your refusal to be their emotional dumping ground forces them to sit in their own disorder. This is not merely a battle of wits or a psychological game. It has a real measurable impact on a psychological level.